Hey everyone, this is Zach, and today I'm going to talk about my experience with my very first regional down in Knoxville. This is the team I use, so if you want to give it a try and check it out, feel free to do that. I'm going to talk about the team in later on in the video, so make sure if you're interested in it, check it out. But let's get into it. Okay, so first off, I did initially intend to do like a vlog of my journey down there, and I did some of the recording, but I remembered that I'm just not the kind of person to hold a camera up in a public space and talk to myself. So I scrapped that idea real quick once I actually got there. Not to mention when I got there, it was I was in the moment. I was enjoying like being there, meeting new people or people that I have not met in person before. So it was all like a really good experience. And I'm kind of like that with pictures. Like if you want to take a picture of me, take a picture of me. Don't have me stop and pose for it because I prefer pictures to be like natural. So kind of the same thing where just being in there and recording myself, it just feels fake to me. It doesn't feel authentic, and it wasn't something that I wanted to do once I got there. Next up, the drive down wasn't too bad. I stopped once. It took about 9 hours. I got there around 5 o'clock. Went down to the venue and met up with Canto Clark, Nick, real cool dude, and he introduced me to some people throughout the weekend and just moved around and talked to people. It was a really good experience. But when we get to Saturday and we get to the matches, uh, my goal was to not get last place. And I didn't expect to like do well, but I did want to do well at the same time. I did feel like I worked well with the team. I felt confident about it going in. And throughout the day, that stayed the same. I did still feel confident using the team. There were some bad choices I made, but most of the matches came up pretty close for the most part. Uh, for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter and didn't see it already, I did end up 3-6. So I won 3 matches and lost 6 of them. And I want to say out of half of those, they all came down to game threes. So it was just one wrong bad call ended up losing the match. And that's something, like I said, I need more best of 3 practice. I need to be able to adjust more. So that's something I could work on. And I ended up not dropping and playing all 9 rounds because I wanted that practice. I wanted that experience. And it was fun. It felt good. Round 1, I went against Ashton Cox. For those of you who don't know, Ashton Cox took second place in Orlando, and I faced him round 1. Really nice guy. He's also from Ohio, so I finally got to talk to him and meet him in person. The first time I went to a live event, I met a bunch of people that knew him and were talking about him, but he was either returning home or getting ready for OCIC that year, so he didn't go to that event. But so I've always like known that he was from the same state as me. So like I could see him at a local, but we haven't had a local yet. So I got to talk to him for a little and I brought him down to a game 3. He ended up winning. Protected with Gardevoir when I thought Gardevoir was going to Trick Room, and that was the end of that match. But played a really good match, felt really good about it, and started my day 0-1. It did end up working out because Ashton tweeted throughout the day that he lost a match due to Joy-Con drift. And if you watch my What's in My Bag video, I packed a lot of extra controllers. So I went, hey, do you need a Joy-Con? And he ended up taking my left Joy-Con that I brought. And I'm pretty sure my left Joy-Con got more wins than I did. So that's cool. Round 2 was against a player named Chris. It also went down to a game 3. He had Iron Hands, Great Tusk, Salamence, and Scizor. What it came down to is that I didn't have a quick and good answer to a Terra Water Scizor. He was able to just chip most of my mons down and clean up with Bullet Punch, which was unfortunate, but it happens, you know? That also went down to a game 3. Next round was round 3, and that was my first win. It was against an opponent called Cody. Uh, I know that he had a Goldango, an Amoonguss, an Iron Bundle, and a Talonflame. I didn't write much after that because I felt pretty confident in his play. He went for the burn turn 1 on Meowscarada and game 1 and spored Amoonguss, and I was able to make the adjustments. I made good calls and was able to use my Terragrass Arcanine to shut him down. And I was able to make adjustments game 2 where when he went to burn the Meowscarada, I just switched in the Arcanine and was able to handle it. So round 4 was against an opponent named Deshell. They had Farigiraf, Roaring Moon, King Gambit, and Tauros Fire. Uh, I would outkill a Wattrel, and I didn't have good answers for flying types. So when I went against the Terra Flying Roaring Moon, I had Ice Spinner, and that was okay. But the King Gambit is what gave me trouble in this matchup, and he was able, between Breaking Swipe and Intimidate from Tauros, was able to basically neutralize my Great Tusk, and I wasn't able to clean up. That was the first, I believe, 0-2 that I lost. So at this point, I'm 1-3, kind of bummed, thinking of, okay, when should I drop? Because I don't want to mess up anyone's resistance. I was thinking about Ashton, how like Ashton is a competitor, and I didn't want me playing poorly mess up his resistance. But I found out that with the way they're structuring it now, uh, day 1 resistance doesn't matter. So at that point I had a lot of people say, you know what, just play your matches, just have fun, and that's what I did, and I'm glad that I did that. Game round 5 was against a player called Christian. Game 1 they went Roaring Moon, Fluttermane, Iron Hands, and Great Tusk, and I forget how I played it, but I think I did well with Bundle, and Meowscarada puts on a lot of pressure. Turn 2, they went Roaring Moon, Fluttermane, and I was able to shut it down again. This time, their switch up, instead of Iron Hands and Great Tusk in the back, they went Armorogue and Didi, but I used Ice Spinner on the Roaring Moon when it Terra Flying, so I got rid of the Psychic Terrain. They weren't able to cycle out in Didi, so when Armorogue came in, for some reason, I even asked them why they didn't follow me when they went to go set Trick Room. They just didn't follow me on Indeedee. So I guess they planned on trying to take out the Arcanine that I had on the field at the time before it would snarl, but knockoff from Meowscarada just completely wiped out the Armorogue. It was the only Armorogue and DD I went up against, and I handled it pretty well because I got rid of the Psychic Terrain, and that's a matchup that I did think about, so I'm glad that that came into place. Round 6 was a common Farigiraf, actually, Farigiraf, Meowscarada, Torkoal, and I do remember this one. So Farigiraf, Meowscarada, Torkoal, King Gambit, Iron Hands. So game 1, I flat out lost. They set up the Trick Room. I lost. I went to go double into the Meowscarada turn 1, and they ended up protecting it and setting Trick Room with Farigiraf. It was unfortunate. It was a pain in the butt, but it happens. Game 2, I was able to lock it in against Farigiraf, King Gambit, Torkoal, and Iron Hands. I stopped the Trick Room from going up, and in this matchup, Farigiraf, love it, but I ended up clicking Brave Bird so many times, forgetting that Talonflame was still at full health. And my opponent, we talked afterwards, and they actually said, yeah, no, I ignored your Talonflame on purpose so it couldn't attack. So Talonflame from there just started taunting and throwing Will-O-Wisp around. And I lost this match because it came down round 3. They went Torkoal Lilligant, Farigiraf, and King Gambit. And I ended up outspeeding them with Tailwind and, getting rid of the Lilligant. And it came down, they couldn't get Trick Room up. And it came down to Terraflying King Gambit, Fluttermane, and, well, no, they did get Trick Room up. 2 more turns of Trick Room. I have Fluttermane on the field and Great Tusk. So I go, you know what? There's 2 more turns left to Trick Room. The Protect is really obvious. So I decided to click Trick Room with my own Fluttermane, getting rid of Trick Room a turn earlier, throwing them off guard. At that point, I headlong rushed the Farigiraf, one-shot it from there, but they were able to double into the Fluttermane, knocking it out. Now, if I would have protected there, I would have been in a lot better position because at that point, there was 1 more turn of Trick Room, and it came down to my Great Tusk versus their flying King Gambit. For some reason, I wasn't thinking, and I Terra Steeled, and he was able to outpace my Ice Spinners with Brick Break. And so that was probably the only match where it was a bad play on me. I lost because I did not play well. 2 wins, the 2 losses before that, it was game 3 matches that went really well, except, I didn't clutch it. And then 1 matchup after that, I think round 4 was just, I didn't have, my team didn't do well against it. Round 7 was against a Tristan. They had Talonflame, Iron Bundle, Iron Hands, Great Tusk. Basically, what it came down to is that they had better speed control options, and with their Iron Hands, they were able to deal with my bundle a little easier, and their Great Tusk was faster. So at the end of the day, they were able to win it because their Great Tusk was hitting before mine. That was the second 0-2 loss that I had, and it happens. Round 8 was my first Dodonzo matchup. It was also my last win of the tournament. I was able to play against the Dodonzo really well. Game 1, I got rid of the Iron Moth and Fluttermane and preserved my Meowscarada and Iron Bundle, where I was able to freeze dry and knock it out. And I paced the matchup right, so I was able to freeze dry, knock out the Dondozo, and then Flower Trick in the same turn when Tatsugiri popped out of the mouth, and was able to get the win there. Game 2 was a little tougher, but each time that I played my opponent, I was able to burn the Dodonzo. So I was able to burn the Dodonzo as soon as it came in, minimize its damage, and from there I was able just to chip it down with Great Tusk and Iron Bundle, and got that one real nice 2-0. Last round was a player named Bobby. They were big fans of Ashton Cox, so they basically took his team from Orlando and remade it from what it seemed. He did make the adaptation of the breaking swipe, and the one thing I noticed with this team, with a booster energy Roaring Moon, breaking swipe shuts down the Great Tusk. So that was unfortunate. They were able to play around it. They had the Gold Dingo, so I couldn't just lead the Fluttermane. It was a tough matchup, and the breaking swipe and the Gold Dingo ended up wiping me 0-2, and that was it. That was done for the day. I spent the rest of the day just kind of hanging out with people, going around checking out the shops. I got, oh, they're all gonna fall. I got this Ursaluna plush for myself, and I picked up a Chimchar plush for my son. I also got the Landorus Sitting Cutie. These aren't in the US yet. This is the Japanese Pokemon Fit, which is what the line is called. in Japan. My all my plushies are falling apart right now. Oh, also, um, I did also pick. I got this. It's your little promo card you get for signing up, and I got the hat. That is part of. They called it the swag. I got swag, and then I picked this guy up. So I was a little hesitant about it, but for those of you who can't see, it is the Sleepy Tyranitar V, which, for those of you who don't know, has been my chase card the whole like Sword and Shield since it came out in Battle Styles. This was the card that I want. Tyranitar is hands down my favorite Pokemon, so I was really excited to get this, and I was just like, the price is lower than the other ones. Like, what's wrong with it? They're like, oh, nothing. They're like, we're just pricing with the current value, which they were right. It was around that much about a week ago, but it went back up. And so I walked away because I was like, oh, I'll think about it. And then the guy looked at me and went, can you do 95? And I was like, yeah. And the reason why I'm whispering it, because I don't want my wife to hear that I paid $95 for one card. Don't tell her. She doesn't watch my content, so it's her fault. That's just my dog. But I was really excited to pick this up. I should have brought some of my extra hits and pulls to trade them in, and I probably would have ended up being able to get more. But like I said, I was there for the VGC. I got to meet some cool people for the first time. Zardichar is a really nice person. Uh, really tall too, but it was cool to meet them in person for the first time. I met Tom Hayden, which I met first time, didn't really know. Uh, Great dude, really energetic, was doing great all weekend. Missed top cut on a super fang miss, and that was a real big bummer. But it was great meeting him. He seemed really nice, and his birthday was on Sunday. I didn't see him Sunday, so happy birthday, happy belated birthday. Or was it Monday? Was it today? Happy belated birthday, Tom. Who else? I got to meet Beanie. Saw Wolf. Didn't talk to Wolf. Saw Joe UX9. He was near Ashton a lot, but I really didn't talk to Joe. Of course, met Ashton. Got to talk to him a little more because he had my Joy-Con. Uh, Real solid guy. Got to meet Kanto Clark, Nick for the first time in person. It was just all great, like meeting people that you see tweet all the time or you talk to on Twitter, and like I actually got to meet them in person, so that was just it was a really good experience and I enjoyed it. I didn't play the best. I probably could have done better with my team. I probably could have planned and tested a little more, but I felt like my play was good besides 2 or 3 matches, and it happens. You can't win them all. Either way, Sunday I actually didn't I watched the first 2 rounds of day 2 Swiss, and then I had to pack up and leave. Got my Joy-Con back from Ashton. He got a Pro controller from his sister for day 2, so he was able to give me my Joy-Con back. I'm glad I was able to help him. I I picked my kid up a Chimchar Pokemon Fit the same time I picked up that Landorus, and I basically at that point drove 8 hours straight from like 12:30 to 8:30. Only stopped for gas twice, and that's it. Didn't stop for food. Didn't stop for a restroom, because I wanted to make it home in time for bedtime. And my son stayed up 20 minutes later than usual, but I got to see him before he went to bed, which meant a lot for me. I got to give him the Chimchar, and he loved it. He loved it. The first thing he did was stare at it, hold it by its ears, stare at it, and hug it, and give it a kiss. It was precious. It was awesome. But that is my first regional experience. It's not the best, but it's good practice. It was great meeting people, and I can't wait for the next one. I don't know when that's going to be. The goal is to save money and make my way to NAIC. But we'll see how that goes. If you want to support me, if you want to help me out, like and subscribe, watch the videos. Hopefully these can do well enough where ad revenue starts paying more than once every 4 months. But that's going to be all. If you sat through my story, I appreciate you. Let me know what you think about the team in the comments down below. How was your first regional experience if you've went to one? But other than that, that's it. Until next time, I'm Zach. We'll see everyone later. Oh, also, once again, if you want to check out the team, here it is. If you have any questions, let me know. Either way, I think tomorrow I'm going to do one video where I take this on ladder one more time, and from there I'm going to move on and start planning different stuff, because basically for the last month I've just been focusing on this team and making sure that it worked well. It's gone through 3 iterations, 3 different versions. The original was Great Tusk, Arcanine, Meowscarada, Sableye, Kilowattrel, and Aqua Breed Tauros. From there I switched Tauros for Bundle, and then after that I switched Kilowattrel and Sableye to Fluttermane and Talonflame. So it's weird. If you want to hear more about how the team evolved from where it started, let me know in the comments down below. But that's, for the last time, that's gonna be all. Till next time, I'm Zach, and we'll see everyone later.